Why not use a device that has no side effects and uses your own body's mechanism to make you feel better? I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Hey everybody, this is Lori Schulweis.
And I'm Jen Giamo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we talk to each other, but we're always talking to you.
Every week we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today we are learning what causes nausea and how to cure it, which I really want to know.
Me too. Let's get started.
Okay, so we are very interested in biohacking on this podcast, and we've talked to different experts about various things that we can do to hack our health. And today we're discussing a topic that has been a struggle for me for my entire life, literally. Motion sickness, whether it's in a car, on a plane, especially on a boat. It happens to me everywhere. Yeah. So I am willing to try anything to alleviate it.
So we're talking to two experts today about preventing and treating nausea, no matter the cause, what is happening physiologically that makes some people more susceptible than others, and of course, how to treat it using a new wearable device called Relief Band.
Yep, Dr. Sherer is an anesthesiologist who retired from clinical medicine in 2019 and now heads Consolidated Medicine, a medical practice and consulting group, as well as his new quarterly column, Wake Up Call, in Anesthesiology News. He's the author of 8 books, including the upcoming book, Hunger Hijack, being released this spring, about how the food you eat is making you sick. Oh, interesting. Okay. 2 of his books have also been nominated for the National Book Award.
And Hannah Gates is a seasoned branding and marketing professional in the health and wellness sector. Specializing in early stage startups, she has launched 2 successful brands in the past several years. She has been the creative mind behind several celebrity brands, national TV campaigns, experiential pop-ups, and viral digital campaigns. She now serves as the head of marketing for Relief Band, expanding the brand's reach and awareness with the goal of providing natural, effective relief to those in need worldwide. So please welcome Hannah Gates and Dr. Sherer. Welcome to Everybody Talks.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen and Lori. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so we are excited to dive into this topic. Like I said, and Lori too, I have always suffered with motion sickness, nausea. Sometimes now I just get nausea just walking around, getting nausea. So I'm not sure what that's about. Right. But I just want to kind of start there. And what are the common causes of motion sickness and how does it manifest in different people?
You could get nauseous from so many different reasons. Obviously, probably the most frequent things people think about is motion sickness, and whether you're in a car or a plane or on a boat. Of course, you can get nauseous from terrible smells. You can get nauseous from things that you see. You can get nauseous swinging on a swing or going on a ride.
Yeah.
So there are so many sensory inputs that come into your brain that will potentially lead to the feeling of nausea and then vomiting if it gets worse than just nausea. Right.
Yeah, I definitely suffer.
I definitely do too. I mean, I don't know, like in New York City in the cabs, there's always that little monitor now that's like taxi TV that always has to like kind of be turned off. Like I really can't be watching it.
You can't look at that. Yeah.
While that's happening.
So what is actually going on in our bodies? Like what is that physiological mechanism behind this motion sickness? Is it like an inner ear type thing?
They've mapped it out pretty well. There's an area of the brain called the chemoreceptor trigger zone. And that's in the medulla, in the brainstem. And in that area of the brain are receptors to various chemicals that lead to the feeling of nausea and vomiting. And that's how we try to approach the problem, by either blocking those chemicals or making other chemicals appear that will moderate that feeling. So they have pinpointed the area of the brain where the nausea sensation occurs and where the outflow to your gastrointestinal system tells you that you're going to vomit. So we do know where that is.
Okay. Oh, that's so interesting. Wow. And that's why, like I always say, I feel nauseous in my head. Like
I always
feel
have
like
that feeling.
This connection between my stomach and my brain.
You were like the first person I ever met who understood what I was talking about when I said I was nauseous
like that
in
nauseous
my head.
in your head. And then what about altitude sickness? Is it the same mechanism that works for? Because I get altitude sick too, of course.
Well,
I have all of it.
It's a different mechanism, but the result is the same because it's felt that all nausea sensation comes from this chemoreceptor trigger zone just near the hypothalamus. So
Okay.
anything that will give input biochemically to that area, whether you see something gross or you smell something disgusting or you're whizzed around on a ride or whether you're on a boat or whether you're at high altitude, the endpoint is that the CTZ, chemoreceptor trigger zone in the brain, is going to get activated. And they actually are able to see that on brain scans of people.
Wow.
And they're able to understand when you do certain therapies, that part of the brain will light up in a beneficial way.
Okay.
Wow. And are there people that are more prone to this than others? Like, is there something in you that makes you more susceptible than other people? Because some people, I have a friend who could be on a plane and it could go through turbulence and she does not feel a thing. But on
Right.
the other hand,
Well,
I feel everything.
yeah. Well, we all have different genetics and different susceptibilities to things. Um, my wife can't stand the taste of cilantro, right?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
And
that's
there's a
me.
her.
bunch
That's
of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Tastes like soap.
okay, so there are a bunch of people who love cilantro or hate it, and I love it, and she hates it. So the point is, everybody has a genetic predisposition for something, and there are people who are just predisposed to getting nauseous and vomiting. I'm one of them. And then, of course, there are certain medical conditions that will make you predisposed to that also. So
Sure.
there's
Yeah.
there's genetic reasons and there's medical reasons that are beyond genetics.
Yeah. And does it tend to, because I know like for me, it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. I don't know if age has anything to do with it or if I'm just more aware of it now. Is that
Well, think of
something
it
that
this way. I
happens?
agree with you. When I was a kid, just like most kids, I used to like to go on a swing, and I would swing and just have a great time. And now I know in my ancient age that when I get on a swing, it's like, oh my God, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's
It's
something
this
about aging that messes up the coordination between the eyes and the ear and the balance system.
yeah. And I guess vertigo kind of plays into that too. I know my dad used to suffer from vertigo. Um, he also suffered. He passed on
Right.
so nice, kind enough to
It
pass
passed
on
along.
the motion sickness gene to me as well.
Yes.
So,
Ugh.
yeah, that's interesting. I definitely find that to be the case. Um, but is there anything like does this people that are prone to this is are there any like long-term like negative effects of it um if it's left untreated or unmanaged?
No, I don't think there are
No.
any potential long-term implications of having a susceptibility to being nauseous, but it certainly does interfere with your life, as you know, and as you've said. So it can be a big problem, and people are always looking for ways to treat it, and that's how Relief Band came across my radar because back in the early 2000s, I was looking for a non-drug way to treat nausea and vomiting in my surgical patients. Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, and
So
we can
did
talk
you
about that. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, well,
definitely
I
want
would
to
like to
know.
hear about that. So, like, people that you're putting under that are prone to that, you put the relief band on them and that helped them during surgery?
Well, what happened was Relief Band was selling its product in the early 2000s, and I was intrigued because you have to understand that anesthesia can cause severe nausea and vomiting from a different mechanisms. One is opiate medications make people nauseous and
Mm.
vomit, and the anesthesia itself, general anesthesia, can make people very nauseous, and also stress of surgery makes people nauseous. So it's like a three-pronged attack. So I asked the representative of the company to come to my office, and we did what's called a validation study, where we took two groups of people One of them used the relief band activated, and the other group of people used the relief band inactivated and got anti-nausea medicine. And the results were that relief band worked just as well as the medication group. So I was very
Wow.
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
Wow.
that I love about it, and we've both tried it and used it, and it
Yes.
definitely has been super helpful for me. But the fact that, I used to pop Dramamine or something, and I would be not able to function. I'd be
Right.
exhausted,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
my ex-husband took me fishing once, and I took the Dramamine, and he said it was the most expensive nap I had ever taken, being on the boat. So I would have preferred
Exactly.
using that, being awake.
Yeah, no, it really has
Well,
been. And I want to,
that's why I really was interested in it, because so many of the anti-nausea medicines can cause side effects like dry mouth, uh,
Right.
feeling tired, feeling hungover, feeling confused in the case of certain other medications. So I thought if you could use a non-medical, uh, non-pharmaceutical intervention and it worked, why not? You know?
Yeah,
yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I want to get into that a little bit. So obviously it was created for the purpose of preventing or treating nausea. But tell us how it works.
Well, what happens is the stimulation right here at the P6 pressure point, which in traditional Chinese medicine is the point called the pericardium point. And
Right.
either stimulating that with pressure or electrical current or needles will send a signal up the median nerve in your arm. It's the long nerve that runs all the way down to your hands and fingers. And that will activate the area of the brain to moderate the nausea feeling and cause less nausea and less vomiting.
It's a really interesting technology called transdermal neuromodulation, which is really unique to our product.
Yeah. And I just want to point out for those that are listening that you were pointing to the underside of your wrist,
Hmm.
for those that can't see, like that's
Right.
where that's the pressure point that people use. I mean, I know I once went on a cruise and I wore one of those like
Oh, the bands.
wristbands that
Yeah.
had the ball there
Yeah, a C
just as a
band.
A
precautious, a
C
C band
band.
that I wore literally for the whole cruise. It was the first and last cruise I ever took, by the way. But
So neuromodulation. So talk to us a little bit about that. How does that differ from other forms of neurological interventions or treatments? I mean, I know very little about
yeah,
neuromodulation, but I'm just curious how that works.
So the neuromodulation is like, it works in the way that Dr. Sherer kind of explained, in that, we're able to activate the median nerve on the underside of your wrist, and through the transdermal neuromodulation, transdermal meaning over the skin, and then neuromodulation meaning that it's sending those messages to the part of the brain that is responsible for nausea and vomiting, effectively telling your system to turn off those symptoms. So it actually activates your nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is also your calming system. So overall, it can take you from having that really overwhelming feeling of nausea, not only the discomfort, but a lot of people end up getting very anxious from having that nausea. They're kind of looking for, where's the bathroom, where's the exit, right? So it's able to overall give you that calming sensation, and then again send those messages from the brain to the stomach saying turn off those symptoms of nausea. And you mentioned C bands, and a lot of people do think of that when they think of motion sickness, and that as an opportunity. And the difference is that it is pressure based. One, it's going to be really hard for you to tell if you're putting it on the right point.
Yeah.
Whereas the way our technology works, when our pulse-based technology is stimulating that nerve, you will feel a tingle in your hand. So you'll know that it's on that nerve and it's working. If you don't feel that, then it's probably not in the right place. So when you're using C-bands, you're kind of guessing, because you're not really getting
totally.
any kind of indicator that you have it on the right, the right nerve. And at the same time, C-bands, they're not regulated in how much pressure, for how long, at what, a frequency, that kind of stuff. Whereas our technology it's a proprietary frequency of those pulses. We have different level intensities on our product that allow you to kind of customize the treatment. So C-bands aren't regulated in any way. They're not regulated by the FDA. There's no clinical studies or trials really with them. Whereas our product is FDA cleared and has over 75 clinical trials. And to Dr. Scherer's point, we actually were originally developed for use in hospitals. So we were used in over 150 hospitals nationwide before we ever launched it as a consumer product over the counter. So it was specifically a technology developed for the use in hospitals. And it was for, a significant amount of time until 2015 when we actually released it as a consumer product. And since then, we've developed 4 different iterations of the product that all have the exact same technology and offer the same level of treatment, but they incorporate more lifestyle features that meet, the needs that you're talking about. I'm on a cruise, I'm on a plane, I want to enjoy Disneyland with my kids or my grandkids. So, the ones that we've developed for over the counter and consumer use are much more fitted for the lifestyle needs of the modern consumer. It's not just a hospital medical device now. It's a real wearable technology device.
That's so interesting that it was developed for hospitals first. Then,
well, so then would it work for chemo, like people that were undergoing chemotherapy that get nauseous from that? I would imagine that's probably
absolutely, yeah. That's for me, that's some of the most heartwarming stories that I see come through my desk. Are those who are using it to improve their quality of life as they go through chemotherapy? Because as a lot of us know, that is one of the top symptoms that people experience is severe nausea. And we get people who write into us every single day, write reviews and say, that this product was priceless for them because they bought it for either themselves or a loved one, and just being able to see that loved one be able to improve their quality of life because they're alleviated of those symptoms is incredible. So, and to Dr. Scherer's point, if you're post-operative, my mom just had a surgery and was prescribed a really serious painkiller, and that painkiller made her very nauseous. I know when I got my wisdom teeth out, I took half a Vicodin and it made me extremely nauseous. I never took it again. But in those cases where you do have to be on those kind of pharmaceuticals, having the relief band, which again is 100% natural, no drugs and no side effects. You don't have to worry about, is this going to combine well with that, drug that I'm taking or, my other medications, is a big relief for people. They're able to know that it's natural and they don't have to worry about any additional side effects for treating the nausea.
Yeah. Sure, and it's practical. Like I love the practicality of it. When I hear about neuromodulation, I think about like implanting things in the brain, when they do brain stimulation, or, the cranial electrotherapy, or those kinds of things. And those are obviously not, practical uses. And I love the fact that you can just put it on. Now, tell us about, so you said there's 4 different models and they all sort of do the same thing. Now, I was finding when I wore it, I wasn't quite sure, like, how do you know what intensity to put that vibration at for your specific situation?
Yeah, so I'll let Dr. Sherer kind of elaborate on this, but from our perspective, essentially, there's 2 ways to use the product, either preventatively or after symptoms start, which is also unique to our product because you can't do that with something like Dramamine, right? You have to plan in advance with Dramamine and take it, certain time before you get on a boat or something like that. So I always say if you're going to get on a boat and you know that you're seasick, and you can put it on preventatively before you ever get on that boat. And if you put it on preventatively, we do find that you can put it on at quite a low setting to get the technology working, to stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. And then you should be able to get on the boat and do just fine. Maybe if you hit really rough waters, you would turn it up. However, if you don't put it on preventatively, you get on the boat, all of a sudden you're over the edge of the boat, you are not well, right? Then and you just put the band on then, that's when you would want to crank it up to a higher setting to start with, because the technology is going to have to do a little bit more work because you're already actively, having this response. So I tend to say, put it on at a higher setting if you're really on the edge there. Let it work for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then from there, once you're starting to feel the effects of it, you can then bring it down to a lower setting. But Dr. Sherer, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, well, they found that you do not technically have to even feel the pulse in your fingers to be effective. You can dial it down to a very low level and it will be effective. But I like to dial it up pretty high because I actually like the tingling feeling in my palm because it kind of reassures me that it's working. So even though you can turn it down to a low setting, it's still going to work. But I kind of like it as a reminder. And, I think that you just have to play with the device, which is easy to use, to get a sense of the best way to set it for yourself.
Yeah,
But
Okay.
super easy.
I will add something to what Hannah said. We were talking about, you know, what the device is good for. Back in 2003, when I was studying it, the Journal of Supportive Care in Cancer took two groups of patients, one who were getting chemotherapy for breast cancer treatment, and one group got relief band, and the other group got a sham relief band that was inactivated, and the relief band group did better than the inactive group. So
Mm.
that was one study. There was a study same year in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management at the University of Rochester, studying 700 patients with relief band. Same result, relief band did better than a no intervention at all. And then they did a study of studies in 2019. They looked at over 1,000 breast cancer patients, and they would put the relief band on 30 minutes before surgery, and there was evidence that relief band also did better than the alternatives in reducing nausea and vomiting within the 48 hours after surgery. So the studies just kept going on and on. The point I think that Hannah's making is it has a wide application in medicine and also in daily life. But getting back to your question about the setting that you should put it on, you just have to play with the device and see what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah, I like the feeling of it
Yeah.
too. I like to be able to kind of know
Yeah,
that it's
that's
doing something. But I never thought about it
Yeah.
preventatively. I'm always thinking like, oh, when I start to feel nauseous, I'll put it on.
Yeah.
But that makes so much more sense.
See, I
'Cause-
feel like I put it on knowing I was
Yeah.
going on the boat and it was windy outside.
oh, really?
Yeah.
See, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
it's,
did it preventively.
Yeah, that's
because I was like, I
smart.
don't even want to like deal.
yeah.
Because I,
That's
you
how I
get
tend to use
anxious.
it.
You get anxious anyway, and it's like you're looking at the waves and you're knowing that it's like a little rough.
We developed, we took the original model that was used in the hospital, but then we developed additional products that, like I said, they have, waterproof features for those who are, boating, cruising, fishing, more comfortable bands that can be worn for a long period of time for frequent sufferers, or, if you're spending the whole day at Disney World, you want something comfortable, rechargeable models, because again, because we want to be able to use it and have it ready when we need it.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from people, and what are some of those changes that you're looking to make?
Yeah, so like I said, when we brought the original model to market as a consumer product, we just called it the Relief Band Classic, and it was, it was kind of no frills, but it was the technology that worked. It had, the coin battery and a pretty, I would say, medical strap. It wasn't, it didn't look great, it didn't feel amazing, but it did the job, right? And so we started to hear from people that, one, they wanted it to be more comfortable for when they are doing all of these great activities. Two, they wanted it to maybe look a little bit nicer and less like a medical device. And three was the big one that, developed our Relief Band Sport product was the waterproof. We started hearing from
Sure.
boaters and fishers and people saying like, all of our products are splash resistant, but again, if you're, a fisher on a boat, you're going to put that hand into a bucket.
Right.
You're going to, do these things. So we developed our sport product, which was our rechargeable model, IPX7 waterproof, came in 2 colors, and had what we call our Comfort Fit band. So it was, stretchy and soft, and it felt much better. And then from there, we developed our Premier, which was people who really wanted it to be discreet and indetectable. Because, if you've seen our product, our traditional models, it looks like an upside down watch. But the watch is on the underside of your wrist, right? And so it is kind of noticeable of like, hey, what's that? That's a little odd. What do you, and someone who maybe is pregnant and doesn't really want to disclose that, they didn't want to have something that was so, in your face of like, I'm treating a medical condition. So we came out with our Relief Band Premier, which essentially looks like a fitness tracker. At first glance, you would never know that someone is treating themselves for a medical device. And that was something we heard from our consumers, was they wanted something discreet.
Are there other side effects, that you found that are treating other ailments, headaches or migraines or something like that are kind of, you weren't expecting to be treated by this thing, which is very focused on nausea, and that all of a sudden are also being helped by the use of it?
Well, I basically wanted to say that the P6 pressure point on the wrist, they're also looking at stimulation of that point for the reduction of anxiety and
I was just gonna
also
say
Yeah.
that.
possibly migraine relief. We don't know
Yeah.
yet. Hannah knows more about this than I do, but the point, to your point, that there may be other applications that will prove to be beneficial for relief band in the future if we can get the science behind it. And the thought is because this stimulation of the P6 pressure point, in theory, is supposed to increase serotonin production and reduce norepinephrine production. So, increasing the feel good hormone and decreasing the stress hormone, that's the theory behind it. Whether that will be proven remains to be seen, but that's an area of exciting research, I think.
Right now, we obviously work with the FDA. We take it very seriously to be able to make claims that have been backed by clinical studies and, everything that Dr. Sherer has referenced. So the indications that you see like on our website, which are, motion sickness, morning sickness, nausea caused by chemotherapy and postoperative. And we also have backed, are able to say nausea caused by migraines or anxiety, because those are common symptoms of those two. But to Dr. Scherer's point, we actually get anecdotal responses and reviews all the time of people saying that they may have already had the product and they were using it for something else. Then they say, well, I tried using it just because I had a migraine to see if it would help. I didn't have nausea, but I just wanted to see. And the same with anxiety. I just decided to put it on and see. And we're getting these anecdotal responses of people saying that
Wow.
it is really helping them. So we know that there are consumers. And same, I would also say, and again, this is strictly from an anecdotal, what we're hearing from our users, for vertigo as well, like you mentioned, which again, we haven't specifically done the studies on, and Meniere's, which is an inner ear issue, which people are, so again, like we see thousands of reviews of people where, we didn't tell them to use it for that. We've never claimed to use it for that. But we are getting people saying that I've been using this for years to treat these symptoms of these other conditions, and I'm finding relief. So, to Dr. Scherer's point, we now want to be able to back that up and say, okay, like let's do the clinical trials and say, does this really help with anxiety? Does this help with migraines? My husband suffers from migraines, and I will say that every time he gets a migraine, he puts on a relief band, and he says that it takes the edge off for sure. So there's so many opportunities for us, because we want, I always just say, like, I think we want to help the most people find the most relief. So, the more studies we can do to understand how this product can serve more people, we definitely want to.
Yeah, I would think, like, because, you mentioned it works on the parasympathetic. So it's like that right there, gives you that sense of calm and that, I should wear it all the time.
You should literally wear it all the time.
I live in a state of anxiety all the time. Maybe I should just have it on
all the time.
That is very cool. Well, this is definitely something
I
that
know.
I'm now going to use
It's
preventatively.
Like, I was like, you are definitely have been talking to the choir here. I mean, we both be.
Yeah,
we both,
it's just something that I've always struggled with, and I love to know that there's something natural that you can do that doesn't have
that's
those
not a
other.
pill. That's not.
It doesn't have those other side effects.
Yeah,
If anything, it has
totally.
beneficial side effects, right?
Exactly right.
So,
exactly right.
yeah. Oh my gosh. So great.
Yeah, that's something I think is really important to, again, the modern consumer. We, I think, are leaning away from taking a drug for everything. But yeah, I think the modern consumer is definitely looking for natural alternatives to be able to self-treat. And so we think that, that's one of our kind of staple core things that we believe in with our products, is to be able to utilize your body's own natural healing system, right? Like the parasympathetic nervous, all of this stuff lives within you. We're just activating it and giving it the opportunity to work at its most optimal for you to find relief.
The point Hannah's making is we don't need all these extra medications. What we need is to help the body take care of itself in a more natural way. And that's why I wrote about Relief Band in my book and in my other books as well. I wrote about Relief Band without compensation because I wanted everybody to know that there are answers other than medication.
Sure.
Okay. And I think there's a movement in the United States, hopefully, that we got to get away from the mindset that a pill's going to cure everything for us.
Sure.
You have drug interactions, you have side effects, you have adverse events happening. So
Mhm.
why not use a device that has no side effects and
Right.
uses your own body's mechanism to make you feel
Exactly
better?
right.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
You have nothing to
Exactly right. You
lose.
have nothing to lose. You're not ingesting anything. You're just,
But I think people are so used to just, oh, there's a pill for that. Oh, I can take this.
Here,
And
take this, take
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many times have you heard people complain, "Oh, I took the Dramamine, but the nausea was
I fell
better, but I
asleep."
slept."
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
yes,
That was me. I
that's
slept the
exactly
whole
right.
time.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Like all the other
Yeah.
effects of those things that you don't
So, and
want.
also the point Hannah made. I think every house should have one because look, you have a bottle of Tylenol and you have an ice bag and you have a thermometer, right? So why shouldn't you
Right.
have a
Right.
relief band?
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly
Totally.
right.
And the one, the other thing that people don't think of, and this is, I guess on a lighter note, but like we think about cruises, right? And everyone wants to take Dramamine. And technically, you're not supposed to drink on Dramamine. But I know that if you're on an all-inclusive cruise, you're getting your money's worth. And so I always say that people don't even think of that, of like,
Right.
oh, technically I shouldn't be having my pina colada if I'm taking Dramamine for the
Right.
motion sickness. So again, just like being able to take all of that out of the equation and say, I'm using my relief band. I know that I don't have to think about having my pina colada or doing whatever
Sure.
else, and sleeping through it. So I think there's a lot of reasons why people just, they're looking for different solutions, like Dr. Sherer said, outside of pharmaceuticals and ways to, treat themselves, do it naturally, feel good doing it.
It's so easy. Like I think about whenever I travel, I have, and even when I take the ferry, like just a
Yeah.
short ferry ride somewhere,
Yeah.
I will put Emetrol in my bag. I will put these
you're
like
ready for-
anti-nausea lozenges in my bag. I have everything in there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous,
I
you
know.
know?
Yeah, but you're like more nervous about the
Well,
effects.
you also get
Yeah.
nervous that you're
Sure.
going to get nauseous. So the
Sure.
idea of like
Yeah.
preventatively putting it
Yeah.
on and already like stopping that
Yeah.
feeling
Right.
and cutting that anxiety out of the equation
Right.
is, I mean, recently it
Right.
happened to me where I was on a ferry and it was a crazy
Oh, it's
storm.
terrible, yeah.
And the boat was literally like people were kind of coming out of their seats and they're holding on to the sides. And now not only am I nauseous, but I'm freaking out because I'm like, where do I go? Where am I going to get sick? Am I going to throw up over the side of the boat and have it all
Right.
come back in my face? Am I
Right.
going to do it in the garbage can behind this little kid? What am I doing?
Oh, no.
And so to have that, of course, I didn't have it with me that night,
No.
which I should have.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just love how easy
Yeah.
it is to use and,
Yeah.
that preventative,
Yeah.
which I'm definitely going to do now.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you had mentioned earlier, like the most, your husband said the most expensive
Expensive
nap,
nap.
right? And think about that too. I'm like, for me, what you were saying too, it's like the confidence and the comfort of knowing, okay, I have something. And so I always call it like trip insurance or travel insurance too, because it's like, if you think about the money people spend on things like Disney or, cruises or things like that, I'm like, you spend a lot of money. Wouldn't you want to ensure that you're actually going to be able to enjoy it and not be on the dock waving at your family saying, I can't do this, or, or like you said, being sick over the side? Like, I like it because I know now, like, I can book those things and I can, confidently spend the money on those experiences, knowing and being reassured that I won't have to suffer from those things. And I totally feel you on, like, I'm the same way. If I get nauseous, I immediately am anxious because I'm looking at, where's the nearest exit? What am I going to do? Am I going to ruin my outfit? Like, I'm thinking of all those things too.
Yeah.
And so I think it gives people peace of mind,
definitely.
to say,
100%.
okay, I can take on this adventure,
and not having to avoid situations where you're afraid it might happen. I mean,
Right.
I avoid so many
Exactly.
things because I'm like,
Right, you
oh
don't
no,
do
that's
I think it
I'm
holds
gonna,
people back.
100%.
It absolutely does.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is
Anyway,
so
well,
interesting.
thank you so
empowering.
much. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
That level of confidence
Yes.
that you
Yes.
have.
I was saying I have a friend who recently went to Antarctica and I gave her one because the Drake Passage is notoriously, they call it the Drake Shake. And
We
it's
see it in so
notorious.
many reviews, the Drake passage.
Yeah. So she
And-
definitely wore it for that. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, thank
Well,
you
I'm
so
glad it helped.
much. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, thank you
did.
guys. Thank you for all this information. This is
Yeah,
great.
we
Thank you both
appreciate
so
it.
much for having us.
Thank
Thank
you, Dr.
you.
Sherer. Thank you, Hannah Gates. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. All right. So No more nausea for you. No more nausea for me.
I know. The thing is remembering to have it with me. That's my biggest
Totally.
problem is that
Yeah.
I don't remember. But
It's such a problem. It's such an annoyance to have that motion sickness, to have that.
and you know
always.
what? People that don't get it have no idea.
No.
No idea how bad it
No,
is. Because
like-
do you get it where like so like I explained, like that situation I had on the ferry
Yeah.
or whatever, it doesn't go away when I
No.
get off the boat
No,
either.
that's when I think I have the most feeling of nausea in
It
my
ruins
head.
my day, ruins the rest of my
You
day.
literally were the first person, whenever I would say I feel nausea, but in my head, I feel nauseous in my head, no one understood. And then all of a sudden you understood what
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
have
like you are, it's not dizzy, but
No.
it's literally nauseous.
So
like
you
you
feel-
have that
you
feeling
just-
of nausea.
it's so
yeah.
terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't wish
It's
that
such
on
a problem,
anybody.
I
I mean,
know.
since I was a kid, I couldn't.
Yeah.
They were talking about swings. I couldn't go on
I
swings as
know.
a kid. I was the kid on the school trips that had to sit in the front of the bus.
And I think I have a lot of anxiety over going on boats because I don't really know how to swim, which I hate to admit
Oh
that.
my God.
But I
That'll
have
be
a
another
lot of
topic. We
fear.
might have to have somebody come on. Well, I guess they can't teach you how to swim on the
teach me how to
podcast.
swim on the podcast. Yeah, no. But anyway, yeah, like I have that additional kind of anxiety about being on boats, especially.
Yeah, it's
So.
just ugh.
Yeah.
But now we have a solution.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed that and learned a little something. I'm Lori Schulweis.
And I'm Jen Giammo.
This was Everybody Talks.
Talk to you next time.
Take care.
For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, and to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shuli, at Jen Giammo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Join the Everybody Talks community by checking out our Facebook page where you can ask questions, post comments, and be part of the conversation.
And don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweis and Jen Giammo. Produced and edited by Eric Jackowitz.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, and Murray.
Talk to you next time.